You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll arise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Just because I walk as if I have oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise.
And here we go.
Hi, my name's Eric.
Hey, my name is Emma.
Hi, I'm Amber Nicole.
Hi, I'm Kevin Diebold.
My name is Miranda Reyes.
My name's Amber.
Hey, my name's Alyssa Harmon.
I would say I really like Jacqueline Suzanne, Paula Hawkins, and then as far as poetry, Anne Sexton and Sylvia Plath.
I'm going to go with J.K. Rowling.
By far is Ayn Rand.
My favorite female author is Sylvia Plath.
I'm gonna cop out and go with JK.
My favorite video game writer is Mary Kirby. She writes for BioWare.
B.C. Andrews.
Absolutely. I think there's a common misconception that men can't be feminists, but I think that anyone who supports equality would make a good feminist because it's all about gender equality and it's just equality across the board.
Absolutely. To me, feminism is about not being treated any differently because you're a woman, not being denied any opportunities because you're a woman, not being interpreted or understood any differently because you're a woman.
It depends on how you define the term. I think it has a mixture of definitions. I'm definitely pro-equality, and I'm pro-female rights and pro-strong chicks.
Yes, I think the basics of feminism is just to have equal opportunity and equal rights for women and men and all. So yeah, why would I not be pro-feminism? Because that's smart.
I do consider myself a feminist. Yeah, I believe in the economic and social equality of men and women. That's as simple as it is, I think.
I think everybody should be feminist because it's not about women are better than men. It's about equality to me. And I don't see any reason why everyone shouldn't be equal.
I would. I think feminism is it basically comes down to just wanting equality for both genders.
I would say kind of just keep fighting against the glass ceiling because there is like a big gender divide with every major, I feel like, and I feel like you have to just follow your dreams and not really listen to what other people tell you.
Go do your thing. That's really what I would say. I wouldn't want to frame any challenges that a woman just entering their academic field might have. Yeah, I wouldn't want her to be aware of those at that time. I would want her to meet them when she crosses them, but I think the longer that she can go without having some type of prejudice or stigma on her for being a woman, the better.
I think you have to make sure you get the full picture and also do a lot of your own reading and research because it's too easy to just agree with what other people tell you. And it's important to make those decisions for yourself.
Good luck. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not fun at all. So just push through.
I would say that no matter what field you're in, your work and your determination in that field is what's important. Just to stay very grounded in her passion and her career path. Don't settle, keep working towards your goal.
Kick ass and don't be afraid. I think that you're gonna get talked down to no matter what, and you're gonna have people tell you that you're not as good as someone else, or at least they're not gonna say it in those so many words. They're gonna say it like subtly to you, but you're gonna get the picture, and just fuck those people. Just do what you want to do.
I'd probably say just go for it and don't let anything distract you from your goals and dreams because people will try to deter you and be like, well, that's not practical, but I think if that's ultimately what you want to do and you're passionate about it, just go for it.
I think that for every cultural or racial aspect to feminism, there's a whole another avenue of theory relevant to that. And I think all of those are valuable and all of those are worth paying attention to.
No. People have deeply scripted ideals, and I don't know that you can change that. Other than through the education system beginning at a very young age.
Obviously not for the people that are not feminists, but I don't understand why. It doesn't really make sense. I think it should be for everyone. I feel like it's something you can't really change, which is annoying because I feel like you just can't change the mindset of some people. Like there's just some guys out there that are just so like get in the kitchen type of thing, and like I don't know how to get that mindset out of their heads, and then they're gonna teach their children and they're gonna teach their children, and like it's just something that I feel like is never gonna like disappear. Maybe we can. I just don't see it happening anytime soon where it's like a completely dead thing.
Feminism is for everyone. I think it really does require effort from both sides to level out the gender norms and the expectations from both sides and the gender roles. Yeah, it's intersectional. It's about everyone because it's for everyone.
I think feminism should be for everyone. As white women, I think that we have a responsibility to include women of color in feminism, because we can't just assume that feminism means white women feminism. It means women.
I think it is for everyone. I think that men should be more concerned about feminism too, because I think it's going to take an effort on both sides to be able to create this equality for men and women, because they are a big part of it, and you need both sides working together, not just one side.
Fortunately, I've never felt silenced in academia as a woman, but in life, like I come from a family of strong male figures, and my family is very competitive and very goal-oriented, and a lot of who we are individually in the context of my family is measured by what you've succeeded, what benchmark you've passed. And I think that those standards are different for the men in my family than they are for the women in my family. So I think that a lot of the time during conversations at holidays over dinner, I don't think that my opinions and my viewpoints are necessarily as prized, not because of who I am or because I'm a woman, but because my standards are different for being able to, or my standards are different for being valued the same way as other male figures in my family.
My views were kind of just fed to me for a very long time, where I was kind of told like, this is what you should believe. Sometimes I would try to bring up something controversial, try to bring up something, but then there were always those students that were like, no, that's incorrect, like you shouldn't believe that, when I'm just trying to question things, you know, when it comes to like gay rights, like abortion, feminism. I would try to talk about those things, and obviously instead of looking at those things rhetorically, they were looked more at like morally and ethically.
I play a lot of online video games, and especially there, what we do, like me and I've talked to other girls too, they do this too, is we no longer get on voice chat at all. Like we don't want people to know that we're there, and that's not so much other people silencing me as me silencing myself. And I think that's just as bad, if not worse, because I'm only silencing myself so that I don't have to take the abuse that I know that I would receive, or the negative attention that I would receive otherwise online. And I think that's just as bad, and I would really like that to end, because it's bullshit.
I have, both in like academia and outside of academia, like in relationships or anything, like if I would try to bring up a problem, my partner would interrupt me and tell me I was wrong and wouldn't listen to me. And then in academia, like in certain like club meetings, like I would try to bring up ideas, and again I'd get interrupted, and they were just like kind of thrown out the window and not listened to.
I think it's a lot of pressure from the publisher. Like I think the publishers are telling these women they can't get published unless they use like a male pseudonym or like a gender neutral name. I think like J.K. Rowling's a good example. She basically was told no one's gonna want to read the Harry Potter series if they find out it's a woman. And even when she wrote like mystery novels, she used Robert Galbraith, I think was the name, and it was selling like crazy. But I think a lot of times it's certain genres, there's like a pressure for women to not write in certain genres that aren't like romance or just general fiction.
I don't know why they still do. I mean, I guess there's still a prejudice inside the writing world, but I think originally it was obviously because women were kind of looked down on in the writing world. So they kind of had to like be like, oh, I'm Bob Buckhart, so that people would be like, oh, Bob, we love Bob, not Betty, fuck Betty. So I don't know, I think that's originally why, is just the stereotype of women, but I don't think it's an issue as much now.
I definitely think that there is a gender bias that accompanies like finding a book and seeing that the author is male versus like female. And I think knowing whether the author is male or female like affects how you read the book, especially like when it comes to editors and when it comes to like reading to publish the book.
Everyone has implicit bias, and if you see a female name and it's not under a Harlequin romance title, you're gonna have some implicit bias about that female writer.
When if you're used to publishing male writers and then you get like a manuscript that has a female author attached to it, you automatically have this bias and you attach a stereotype to it. So I think if you have like a blind review submission or you have a pseudonym, it's easier for people to get their stuff published.
I think in the 21st century, everything's kind of progressed, and it's still like a process. There are a lot more female writers writing science fiction, horror, mystery, things like that, and they're outselling the men actually in a lot of those categories. But it's still like they're still being more harshly criticized, and I think there's still a lot of taboos that, like, I cover this a lot in my paper. There are more taboos like in the 20th century with women writing about like explicit sexuality or really just women in a position of power, I think, and that's still kind of a power dynamic.
They should be. I think it's interesting to note that a lot of, like we were talking about, a lot of trash novels are written by women and considered trash, but as soon as a male writes it, as we were talking about, it's a bestseller and turned into a movie, and it's a male being brave to write about these topics and talk about these topics, but when a woman writes about it, it's smut. So I think that's crazy, and that's totally taboo for a woman.
I think, yeah, if they're willing to advocate for themselves and if they're going to own it and defend it, sure.
Sure. I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, unless they're talking about like how men feel, I think that's the only thing they probably couldn't do as well. But other than that, there's no reason why they can't write as well as men, if not better.
I think there's a stereotype that female writers are gonna write historical romance or like a Harlequin romance novel, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. They kind of go with the whole damsel in distress narrative. Like Nora Roberts, for instance, she's well known as Nora Roberts, but she writes under the pen name of J.D. Robb, which is kind of an ambiguous name, when she writes mystery novels. And then it's like with poetry, there's kind of this weird stereotype that female poets have to be like really depressed and suicidal even, and I think that's changing a little bit, but there still is that narrative of like the sad, angry female poet, which isn't the case with men.
That their prose is just totally emotively driven, that it's not intellectual, that it's not as deep.
I think some stereotypes of like women, successful women in general, are like that we're bitchy or cold or, I don't know, just power hungry.
Romance novels, there we go. I think it's a stereotype that only females write romance novels, and that's all they can write, and maybe some sex novels like 50 Shades of Grey type of stuff, like that erotica, you know, heyo. I think I feel like they don't really write any gorier stuff. I think now that I'm thinking about it, like when I think of like a female author, I don't think of like dark, gritty, dark shit. Like I think of like happiness and like we prevail.
That they are romance writers, or that I feel very close to this because, like I said, I want to write young adult fiction, and right now that's one of the stereotypes of women writers is they all write young adult. There definitely is that stereotype that if I said I want to be a writer, people wouldn't think, oh, you want to write science fiction, hard sci-fi, which I love hard sci-fi.